So this is my AR Stoner upper on my cheap little Harbor Freight vise in a Magpul Bev block. I just pulled off the barrel. So let's do, I guess we would call this, oh, stand by, let me get my camera steadied. There we go. I'm not sure if we'd call this an autopsy or some sort of other review, but I just want to take a look at things and go over the experience because, you know, YouTube policies, you can't show doing any of that. But still, I wanted to make a quick video about the experience, but also like the components. Because, well, this is the flash hider, and obviously that screws on to the barrel here, which I took off and just did a quick little video about with my Borescope. Basically, the leads and the grooves, there's some fire cracking and some erosion and other badness going on, probably from bad barrel maintenance. That's totally on me. That's okay. I have about 2,500 rounds through it, and it's lived a good life. So let's do our quick little autopsy of our parts and components here, because I just took the barrel off of my AR Stoner upper. Now, you probably noticed, and if you watch my previous videos, that I've been saying Bear Creek Arsenal sometimes. Well, how do I know? Well, for starters, AR Stoner is a retailer. That's Midway's brand. And what they do is they basically buy parts and components and then resell them. And they make a profit, hopefully. Anyway, so here is the barrel nut. This is the barrel nut, or a barrel nut, that Bear Creek Arsenal definitely uses. This, by the way, was a nightmare to get off, because when I was reading online, they said, hey, 30 millimeter wrench. It's actually 1 3/16. So you can see where, focus, I've induced some mechanical stress onto the component. In other words, I tried to, I worked harder, not smarter. I have proper wrenches incoming, so putting it back on is going to be more proper, but there you go. But let me tell you something. This was definitely on there very tight. I didn't see any anti-seize or what have you. There was some sort of very thin oil or something on there. So there's no galling, everything's fine, but holy crap was that on tight. And also, here you go, here's the flash hider, which, interesting little fact, this is one of the things I wanted to note. The barrel nut had a barrel shim, just one, and that's fine. I actually ordered more just in case with my new barrel I might need one. But the flash hider did not have a crusher washer behind it, and that's a little bit concerning. I was told that basically any sort of muzzle device needed a crusher washer. So if I was misinformed, please let me know. There's nothing to really talk about when it comes to the gas system except for, you can see where I got some hard carbon buildup. Definitely run it over gassed on some things. I didn't see any anti-seize or what have you on this, but I didn't need it. These were pretty hard to get off as well. But on that note, actually, I was really surprised to see, well, there's the gas port. Come on. You can see it was lined up more or less, but a little bit off center. You can't hold it against them. It still worked just fine. But look that. Where that bit in, that's fine. And then where it was dimpled. I thought only the fancy barrels did the dimpling. So, good job, Bear Creek. Or AR Stoner. I guess both. Teamwork, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. Let's go on to the bolt. Because I have about 2,500 rounds through this barrel. And, well, wear and tear is a thing. It was a mid-length gas system, so things were a little bit rough. You can see where on the bolt itself, on the teeth, or lugs I meant to say, right there and there, where you see where it's starting to wear through the finish. I say wear through the finish because I'm not sure what else is proper to say. I'm guessing that this was probably a phosphate covered bolt, since that is kind of the more affordable version, if I recall correctly. I also have some wear up there. Or it could be nitride. And wear like this shouldn't be, there we go. Since it's so shiny, especially with the oil I put on it, it's kind of hard to focus. At this point, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. It's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on, however. And speaking of which, well, for starters, you can see how the gas rings, they're still in pretty good shape. I will say that compared to my new bolt carrier group, this nickel boron one, this one seems to have a little bit more resistance, which isn't a bad thing. There should be some resistance. It shouldn't float on its own. But whether it's caused from a tighter fit because of the coating, or if it's because the gas rings are starting to get a little bit worn out, well, we'll find out. Either way, I am getting to the point where I'm going to have to replace these gas rings right there pretty soon, because we are over 2,000 rounds. I already covered the wear points, the fitment of the bolt. Oh, yeah. So this, I can't remember the name of this, but there's a little bit of wiggle there. Just a little bit. And so if there's actually a point of failure that I'm worried about in the next 1,000 or so rounds, not that I think it's going to be like a catastrophic failure. I'm just saying that something I'm going to have to pay attention to is how this wiggles. Because you can see where it has worn so far. And that's only going to get worse, because that's not from the oil or crud. That is wear through the finish. So I'm going to have to be very careful there. Let's see, what else? Oh, yes. Firing pin. The protrusion is still fine, but you can see there's a little bit of clearance there. And actually, you'll see it better compared to this one. Let's do a side up. Oh. Stand by. Here we go. Let's do a side-by-side. There, especially with the light on it, you can see where there's a little bit of a gap there. Whereas this one, it's pretty much flush. So yeah, there's definitely looser tolerances on this one, which is interesting because of the two bolt carrier groups, of the two uppers rather, I should say, it's this one which has the greater or the lesser clearance for headspace. But that's kind of a combination of the rifle barrel up here as well as the bolt carrier group. Anyway. So anyway, quick summation. I do have some wear and tear on these parts, but nothing to really be worried about. The main things are going to be this here in the next couple thousand rounds, but also my gas rings there. I should probably order some so I can just get them changed to now. So that way, whoops. That way we're doing just fine. And I think that is basically all to report, with the exception of I have not just one, but two barrels incoming that I want to test. So I will see you guys out on the range. Okay, I have the 90-degree mirror on. Let's take a look at the chamber. You can see here, you can still see some of the machine marks. Otherwise, it's fairly smooth. So I'm not sure if we could say that was polished or not. Here's the neck area, the remnants of whatever carbon ring I had. Some of it's just because I just cleaned everything out, so it's starting, like, that's where things pooled. I mean, you can see right there, schmutz from the oil. I'm not too worried because I'm consigning this barrel to oblivion. You'll see why in a moment. Yeah. Well, start off, let's take a look at the leads. So where the rifling begins. And you can already see it right there. One lead is definitely longer than the other one. And that one is definitely longer than that shorter one. So we have some inconsistencies there. they start off equal, but there is wear and tear going on. Come on. And you can see here where we have fire cracking. It's moderate fire cracking, I guess we'll go ahead and call it. But as we go further up, we'll see where there's pitting from corrosion starting to kick in. And it's around this area that we might see where there's still some copper embedded, despite my efforts in letting it soak with solvent and what have you. Let me try to hunt for it. Probably this one, which is really bad, right? And you can see, and this is a little bit of a side, you can see in the grooves where you can see where like the button was pulled through. There's some striations, machining marks, whatever you want to call it. Although it's not true machining marks, because if it was button rifled, I mean, they pulled through that button, right? Okay, so give me a quick moment while I try to find that copper. I know I had it diminished to a very small amount, but yeah, look, oh, there's some. Ah, there we go. Here it is. Definitely a amount that's just kind of cobbled in there. And that's a nasty looking land, isn't it? There's some more copper. Some fire cracking. How does that... It's definitely another shorter one. Either way, this is why I'm basically retiring the barrel, because I'm definitely starting to get almost near predictable flyers. So here we go, and here's one of the, I don't want to say the main reasons why I'm retiring this barrel, but when you see that the lands or the leads are inconsistent with one another, but also the lands are in such a bad shape, holding copper and what have you in there, just pitted and fire cracked away. Probably my bad. It's probably really rough when cleaning it or something. I don't know. Or maybe it's how the rifle eroded away. But either way, it's a thing. And so this will be a backup barrel or something, but it's being retired.